Tailor pose, supine. The Tailor pose is typically performed in a seated position, but this supine variation offers some variation, and I found it to be very effective for increasing hip abduction mobility. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate 3 very different stretch methods you can use in the supine Tailor pose: overcoming isometrics, repetitions, and isometric. The setup for each of these methods is pretty much the same, but the stretching technique is slightly different. Start by lying down on your back. Bend your knees and place the soles of your feet together, allowing the knees to fall out to the sides. The position of the pelvis is often debated in this stretch. Often we are told to set the pelvis in a posterior pelvic tilt and push the lower back flat into the floor. However, I don't find this technique effective, especially when using the Tailor pose as a progression towards gymnastics middle splits or pancake, as both of these movements are performed with an anterior pelvic tilt. Experiment with the level of anterior pelvic tilt in the supine Tailor pose and find what works for you. We're trying to arch the lower back off the floor. To perform the overcoming isometric, you will need to place an immovable object under each knee. You want the height of the immovable object to be just below your passive hip abduction range of motion. When you're relaxed in this stretch, your knees are not touching the object, but when you actively pull the knees down, you can touch the objects. You need to actively push the outside edge of the knees down into the immovable object to create an isometric contraction. Focus on pushing the soles of your feet together and pulling the knees down towards the ground. Contract the glutes as if you're trying to lift your hips off the floor. Hold the overcoming isometric for the prescribed time, and then repeat the specified number of overcoming isometric reps. In this video, I'm performing 3 reps of 10-second holds. I then recommend removing the immovable objects before performing 1 more isometric repetition. This one should be a little deeper than the previous reps when you're pushing into the immovable objects. To perform repetitions, you will use the same setup but without the immovable objects. You place the soles of the feet together and you open and shut the hips. As you abduct the hips and pull your knees down towards the floor, focus on pushing the soles of your feet together and contracting your glutes as if you're trying to lift your hips off the floor. Perform the specified number of repetitions. To perform the isometric, you use the same setup but without the immovable objects. You place the soles of the feet together and then abduct the hips and pull the knees down towards the floor. Again, focus on pushing the soles of your feet together and contracting your glutes as if you're trying to lift the hips off the floor. Actively keep trying to pull your knees down towards the floor while holding the isometric contraction for the specified time. The supine Tailor pose can be performed for repetitions, overcoming isometrics, or a combination of these methods. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe to the channel.